Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ivan Salaji, for those of you who don't know me. I am a scientist by day and a writer by night, and I am also a co-host of a weekly podcast called Journey to Wherever, and I blog over at ivansalaji.com if you're interested. The topic of today's video is going to be basically what books am I currently reading. So I am quite proudly a multi-potentialite, which means I love to do lots of things at the same time. I have lots of creative pursuits, as you say, and that means I like to have my hands in lots of different things at any one point in time. That also means I read lots of books at any one point in time. So typically I've got about 4 or 5 books stacked in lots of different locations. I've got 4 or 5 sitting in a pile and in our room, and on a bedside table. I've got another 4 or 5 stacked inside the lounge room, and then right now, even though I'm traveling, I have 4 books with me now. 2 of which I just bought today as well. So I went out for dinner and I went to a bookshop which is directly across the road from where I am staying today, and I could not say no to buying books from this store. They were ridiculously cheap. So I buy all of my books, and I'm staying loyal to bookdepository.com, but I buy all of my books from bookdepository.com. One, because they give you worldwide shipping for free, and secondly, the prices are just really, really good. So this video is not sponsored by Book Depository, but hey, if you want to reach out, Book Depository, you're more than welcome to. But I did go to a bookstore across the road from where I'm staying, and I picked up 2 books. One, because they were very good prices, and 2, I had heard one of them recommended, and the other one I've kind of late been intrigued to read. So the first one of late that I've been intrigued to read is the classic by H.G. Wells called The Time Machine. So I've seen various movies of The Time Machine, but I've always wanted to read the original book by H.G. Wells. So I purchased this book today. It cost a mere $8. Like $8 for a book in Australia is ludicrously cheap. It says he was like $22.99. I kind of find that hard to believe, but anyway. So this is, I've just started reading it. I started reading it over dinner. I was in a Japanese restaurant having some dinner, and I managed to drop spicy, sticky chicken sauce on the book. So, had this have happened a year or 2 ago, I probably would have lost my mind. I love keeping my stuff in very good condition, but for some reason lately I don't really care all that much. And some people are probably cringing right now if your book's kind of been damaged, and for the most part I like to keep my books in order. I certainly don't cover them or anything, although I know people do that, and they like to keep their books in good order like that. Kudos to you. But I tend to feel, at least particularly with this one, it kind of tells a bit of a story, because I'm traveling at the moment and I'm in Melbourne, where I usually live in Sydney. So I guess the sauce kind of smells like sticky, spicy sauce. Adds to the story of The Time Machine, because I'm a traveler. So I'm really keen to read this particular book. This is a classic. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this book was written, it would have been written in the late 1800s? Maybe early 1900s? Because H.G. Wells was born in 1866 and he died in 1946. So it's a classic. There's been lots of movies that have been made about this book already. I'm only about 3 pages in so far, and it's just the first line about how it opens. And if you don't like spoilers, certainly don't listen to what I'm about to say now, even though it doesn't really give away the book. It's just like the first line. But the actual first line itself just captivated me from the get. So if I can read this part, credit to H.G. Wells' Time Machine, because I'm reading this out. So actually, is it the first line? No, I'll read the first part. So it says, "The time traveller, for so it will be convenient to speak of him, was expounding a recondite matter to us." I think that's the word, recondite. I'm a terrible speller. His grey eyes shone and twinkled, and his usually pale face was flushed and animated. The fire burned brightly, and the soft radiance of the incandescent lights in the lilies of silver caught the bubbles that flashed and passed in our glasses. Like, the incandescent lights in the lilies of silver caught the bubbles that flashed and passed in our glasses. I mean, the movie that I had watched, and I think it might have been maybe in like the 50s or something, maybe not the 50s, probably the 60s or so. Reading that line really gave me a visual straight away of kind of sitting in this room, and like you've got the fire burning and like just the champagne glasses and just capturing the glistens of light. I mean, the opening, that opening paragraph itself just hooks me in straight away. So I'm very excited, particularly because I'm a scientist. So I'm very excited to read this book. I haven't actually read it. I know it's a classic, so I'm very keen. The next book that I bought today was called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And this book was actually recommended by Ali Abdaal from, he's a YouTuber, Ali Abdaal. And he's also a co-host of a podcast called Not Overthinking with his brother Tamer. But Ali basically recommended this book multiple times in his videos, and I watch his content. Shout out to you. And I was captivated by his recommendation to read it, and I saw it on the shelf, and for $10, I can't say no. So I grabbed a copy of this. It's a memoir by the creator of Nike. It just so happens that I'm writing a memoir myself right now. Some of you may already know that, of my own life, albeit somewhat short so far. I'm only 33, but I think there's a lot to tell in my life, and kind of how I've got to where I am today, and my backstory and family story and whatnot. So I think I don't know if I've ever read a memoir. I may have read a fiction memoir of sorts. I did read a book once. I wouldn't know if you'd classify it as a memoir, but it felt a little bit memoir style. That was Briar Rose. So that was a really good book. I read that for high school studies, but and that was about the Holocaust. So that was a very good book. But this is a memoir from the actual creator of Nike, and Nike's a very reputable brand. It's very large. It's been around for such a long time. So I like these stories about people's lives, and seeing where they kind of came from and where they are now, and kind of the story behind it. I think there's a lot of, to me, I'm just fascinated by true stories. So Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I'm very keen to start reading this book. I haven't read it yet. The other book I am also reading at the same time is called Keep Going by Austin Kleon. This is the This is the third book in a trilogy of books. The second one I read and did a book review on my blog, which was goodness, I can't remember what it's called now. I have a massive brain fart. This one's Keep Going, Show Your Work. So the first one's okay, let's start again. There are 3 books. The first one is called Still Like an Artist. That's the one with the black cover. Then you've got the second book, which is called Show Your Work. That's the yellow cover. That's the one I did the book review on. Then you've got the third book, which is called Keep Going, clearly a blue cover. And this one is basically about once you've started and you kind of hit a bump, you might hit a bump in your creative process. You might hit some roadblocks, lose a bit of creativity. You're finding it hard to keep going. This book is basically about getting you to keep going and giving you strategies around how to do that. I really, really enjoyed Show Your Work, the second book in the 3-book series. And I might be mistaken, there might be other books here and there on either side. I know he does have other work, but he's, I'm not really into art just in general, as I guess I haven't been into art or different types of art, most of my life until I hit, about 32, 33. I've started to get a real interest in just like arts in general. And I'd consider, Austin Kleon as being a writer and artist. So I'm kind of liking his work. I read his blog now as well. I did like Show Your Work probably a little bit more than this. I'm nearly through this now. I've probably got 1 quarter left to go. But there's a lot of stuff going on in my life at the moment, and having lots of stuff going on in my life can be a little bit distracting, which means I don't get deep dived hooked into a book. So I'm probably going to have to read this one again. It's still a very good book. I still enjoy it. I think it's more me. It's not you, it's me. And the fourth book that I'm also reading right now is, well, this one's actually blurred out, but it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And except in Australia, they like to kind of blur out the words, but I do think there is copies that have the proper word in there. But this is basically a counterintuitive approach to living a good life by Mark Manson. I like this book I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but this is a good looking book cover. I love books that have the color orange on it, or like an orangey red. The other book that has a similar color to this is called Radical Candor as well. If I ever, well, I will be, but I would certainly consider going for a book cover of this color because they just stand out. It is an attractive book color in my opinion. I read a reasonable amount more of this on the plane, on the flight on the way down here to Melbourne today, earlier this morning. And I'm starting to speed read through a little bit more. I felt I got the point of the book pretty early on. And I tend, if I get the point of something, I'll tend to kind of disengage a little bit. It's certainly a good book all the way through. I'm quite keen to get to chapter 8, which is what I'm up to now, which is the importance of saying no. So I think I'm going to get hooked in and read this chapter a little bit slower because I'm keen on the whole philosophy or principles around just saying no. So it's certainly a good book. It's very in your face. It's very it's not shy of using the word fuck. So if you get offended by the word fuck, then you probably should not read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, because it certainly uses the words a lot. And if you get offended by me just saying that, you probably don't want to read the book. But it is a very good book. It certainly is counterintuitive, and it's probably not the way you think about you should deal with things and how you should probably kind of remove yourself emotionally from some things, but it certainly does give a practical approach to doing that. So they are the 4 books that I'm currently reading. I'm not really a book YouTuber, but I'm reading more books lately. I typically buy now 1 book per month. Clearly a little bit more because I'm kind of bought 3 this month. Oh, I've got another book coming in the mail from Book Depository called Motherless Brooklyn, and I got that book recommended from a podcast by Tim Ferriss and the writer of a new movie coming out, Edward Norton. I think he wrote, produced or directed, and he also stars in Motherless Brooklyn, which is the film adaptation. But before I watched the movie, I've ordered the book, Motherless Brooklyn. So clearly, most of my books are non-fiction, but I'm going into the fiction genre, and I'm reading Motherless Brooklyn, which is also fiction. So I'm feeling like I want to play the infinite game, I guess, and just, you know, enjoy books for what they are and don't feel like I have to get some value out of it, like with life and whatnot, like I would probably these ones. I just want to read the story, you know, it's very a story, man. So look, I will probably wrap it up there. This is a longer video than what I thought it would be, but for those of you who are interested in videos to do with book reviews, I've actually been watching some of them lately and I find them quite fascinating, so I thought I'd do one. So if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below if you've read any of these books, or if you could recommend a new fiction book for me. I'd pretty much read any genre if it's captivating, especially I would also read books that are based on true stories if they are very captivating. Sell me a book. Tell me what the book is and I'll definitely check it out and consider putting it on my reading list. So leave a comment below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell for notifications of new videos that come out. And if you'd like to see more of what I do, you can certainly visit my blog over at ivansalagi.com, or you can go on your favorite podcasting platform and search Journey to Wherever, and you can listen to my weekly podcast with my co-host Daniel. That's a new project. We're up to episode 10, so it's been a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm blabbering now. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope to see you on the next one, and you take care of yourself. Bye.